Laura's in the house. How are you?
Good. How are you, Brian?
I'm great. I'm great. Hey, thank you for jumping on the panel tonight. As I was telling everybody, you and I have some really interesting late night conversations, and I thought it'd just be really great to bring you in and hear your perspective.
Indeed. Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure. So, uh, ready to get started whenever you are.
Yeah, so Laura and I actually, I think it started maybe a couple of days ago. We were throwing like we always do these kind of like we'll start conversations and it will go, well, what if? I mean, what do you think? Do you think maybe this could have happened? Could have been this? I don't know. I didn't look at that. And then like she'll be like, good point. Me looking at that. So we've had this kind of friendly back and forth banter. And I just said, let's just do this live. I think it'll be really great. It will make a great segment on the show. So here we are. Let me pull up the PCA. I think that's important. Let's start there first. So I'm going to pull up the PCA and I'll get my old eyes to read this.
Yeah, definitely blow that up a little bit. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I got to I need to get glasses like really bad. Let me see if I can get this a little. How's that? Is that better?
That is
Yeah.
much better. I'm getting my glasses out myself.
This is what happens when you're old. All
That's
right.
right.
So what I want to do is I want to start right here when it says DM and BF, because this is the stuff that we're really concentrating on. So in the PCA, it says, so what we're going to do is I want to read through the PCA and then Laura has her timeline and I have my timeline. We're going to bring up, and it's going to give the scenario of what we personally think happened inside the house. All right. So DM and BF both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were home by 2 a.m. and asleep, or at least in their rooms by approximately 4 a.m. This was the exception of Xana, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the south side of the second floor. And Laura and I actually found this pretty interesting because as we go back and look at these documents, you start picking up things. This was the first one. She stated she originally went to sleep. So that means that her statement changed. Do you agree, Laura?
She originally went to sleep in her bedroom. The word originally is what I get hung up on.
Yeah.
Why is that in there? If I'm saying, oh, well, I originally was, you know, downstairs in the kitchen, but then there's a but. So she went originally, did she end up going downstairs and sleeping in her old bedroom that I don't know if it's been corroborated by an official
Yeah.
source or if she went down with Bethany, but either way, um she had to have seen something if she left the second floor.
Yes, this is what's interesting. Or she was downstairs and came up and went down. The thing that's really strange about this too is there's been sources or reports that some of her belongings is down in that the basement floor basement, and then there's some of her belongings up on that second floor. It hasn't been, I guess, verified by a credible source or reported. It's just kind of a rumor. But we'll continue to read on because I know you and I have a lot to go through here. So it says DM stated that she awoke at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Gonzalez playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which was located on the third floor. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Gonzalez say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." Let me just acknowledge this chat really quick. Hang on one second. So we have a new channel member. Kathy Lester has become a new channel member. Thank you so much, Kathy, for your contributions. We do appreciate that. Thank you for becoming a member of the channel. Okay, so we now says to the effect of someone's here. A review of records obtained from forensic download of Kernodle's phone showed this could have been Xana, as her cell phone indicated she was likely awake using TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. DM stated she looked out of her bedroom but didn't see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. DM stated she opened the door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Xana's room. Deanne then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." At approximately 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road, picked up a distorted audio of what sounded like voices or whimper following by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Xana's bedroom. DM stated she opened the door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask covering the person's mouth and a nose and mouth and nose, sorry, walking towards her. DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past DM as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the backsliding glass door. DM locked herself in the room after seeing the male. DM did not state that she recognized the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. So I wanted to give some context to that again and just reread that and get that fresh in our minds because, when we pull away from these documents after reading them, we sometimes tend to forget maybe what was there or there's a detail that we missed. And it's funny because Laura and I always go back and I said, shit, did you see this? Or did you see this word? And she's like, no, I didn't see that. So what do you want to do, Laura? You want to pull yours up first, or you want me to pull mine up and we'll give our scenarios?
I guess let's pull mine up because
Sure.
mine starts before yours.
No
And then
problem.
we can go back and forth.
Okay. All right. Let's see. How about we do this? I'll have you read yours and I can read mine.
Okay.
How about we do that? All right. All right. Let me just pull this up on the screen if my screen's going to work. All right. You need that enlarged, yeah?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. Maybe I'll do it for the audience here. Oh, perfect. Just tell me when you need me to scroll down and I will. Let me get a different view here. We'll do a focused view. Perfect. Great.
Well, we start with the night before at 9:00 p.m. and everything that you see the squiggly line, that's just an approximate. Unless we have an exact time, we have the exact time in there.
Okay.
9:00 p.m. Xana, Ethan, and Bethany are at the Sigma Chi fraternity house on the University of Idaho campus located at 735 Nez Perce Drive. Now that's less than a 5-minute walk. I pulled this up in Google Maps. So something else to be noted, I don't think there would have been a reason for any of them to have needed or used a car to go back or forth.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, knowing how much the police patrol that area, that would be a stupid move on their part, and they were very hyper vigilant about underage drinking, as you can see with the, constant police body cams and the noise complaints.
Mm-hmm.
But at 10:00 PM is when Kaylee and Maddie are at the corner club across town, and that was over at 202 North Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
So that is verified.
Okay.
Then the next thing we have is 1:30 AM is when Kaylee and Maddie are seen at the grub truck located at 318 South Main Street. That's about 5, 6 blocks away from the corner club. And do we ever have it, verified if they walked there or if they had, was it Jack Showalter that took them there, or is that all speculation?
I think it's all speculation at this point.
Okay. So we
Yeah.
don't know how they got
Right.
from one place to the other, but they did. And it's about 5, 6 blocks, of a walk. So it's plausible they walked.
Mm-hmm.
At 1:45 AM, Bethany indicates that Xana and Ethan arrived back at 1122 King Road. So
Mm-hmm.
that indicates Bethany was already back at
Okay.
the place.
Yep.
chasing her at the scene of the crime. And Xana and Ethan came back. At that moment, at 1:56 a.m., the private driver, I forgot his name. We had that name released already,
Yeah,
but
it's been in the document.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't.
the
Yeah.
private driver takes Kaylee and Maddie home from the grub truck. Nothing else then until approximately, and now this was according to Bethany
Hmm.
and Dylan. This actually switches to Dylan. So we don't hear anything about Dylan until 4 a.m. So
Real
according
quick, let me
to
just
PCA,
sorry. She said Arya says they walk there. Yeah, I remember. I think
that's
now that
what
I'm
I
starting
thought,
to think about
Aria.
it, yeah, they
Thank
walk
you.
there. Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Um, the rest, this
Yeah,
here next is all according to Dylan, but we have no idea where she was that evening.
right.
I would I would like to know that. It
Yeah,
kind of helps paint a picture of what everybody was doing and who everybody interacted with.
sure.
Was she with somebody? Was she with a Washington State University creeper? Who knows?
Right.
Anyway, they were all in their rooms. In their rooms. And Dylan would not have necessarily known if Kaylee was in Maddie's room or vice versa, or if they were alone, because she knew that they were up on the third floor. So that's really, I think, a moot point. At approximately 4 o'clock a.m., Xana receives a DoorDash order. 4 o'clock a.m., Dylan is awakened by the sound of Kaylee playing with her dog in an upstairs third floor room.
Hmm.
Something interesting that I have looked into today, this afternoon, was that, and this is going to come up to remember in a little bit, Murphy wasn't a loud dog.
Hmm.
I know you pulled something up earlier, Brian,
Yep.
and I went on to the Murphy Gonsalves Instagram page. I followed it because
Hmm.
Jack Decor has an Instagram page for the dog now,
Hmm.
and I went through every video of Murphy, and never once do I hear the dog barking or making any sounds. The dog's a happy-go-lucky dog, but no sounds.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, he's playing with Jack. I mean, you see videos of him with and photos with Maddie and Kaylee and everything. So Murphy doesn't make a lot of noise. So
Hmm.
I'm just gonna say, if Dylan is awakened by the sound of Kaylee playing with her dog, Murphy doesn't seem to make a lot of noise in the videos of Jack playing with him. So that kind of alarms me, is was the dog alerted by a stranger? Um, because I mean, we all, if you have dogs, you know that your dogs are more alert to a stranger, a strange voice.
Hmm.
Dogs, have different heightened senses than we do as humans. So did Murphy first alert Dylan that there's there's somebody here, but then Dylan hears who she believes was Kaylee saying something to the effect of there's someone here.
So let's do this. Let's pause. I have some videos to pull up. Let's do
Thank
this
you.
really quick. You knew I would be prepared. So this is talking about, this was 4 months ago, and it was an interview with the Gonsalves family, and they actually talk about the dog. So let's play this.
All right, it has been nearly 3 weeks since the brutal stabbings of 4 University of Idaho students and absolutely no suspects that we know of. And look, it is cliche to say there are more questions than there are answers. That's not unusual in a developing investigation. But what is unusual is that something so raw and so driven by rage, multiple stabbings, defensive wounds, 4 different people, and yet there is no suggestion of any kind of lead that at least has been made public. We have News Nation reporter Brian Enton, we have FBI profiler Andrew Bringle, and world-renowned forensic scientist whom I have been relying on for case
I may have the wrong video here, but I think they do mention something about the dog. Let's just play it.
studies for decades, Dr. Larry Kobolinski. It's good to have each and all. And as I said, Brian, weigh in whenever you want. Bringle, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Actually, it's Brian that gives the report that he's talked to the Gonsalves family. I do remember this.
Can you hear me, Chris?
Yes. So one fact question, and then a question initially just about type. The fact question is 4 different people murdered, defensive wounds. What about sound? If you have defensive wounds and you have multiple stabbings and you have people on 2 different floors, How hard is it to do that with no real noise happening?
Well, it's nearly impossible to kill someone with a knife without eliciting some kind of response from the victim. The victims don't go quietly in the night, even if you're asleep. The first stab wound is not likely to be fatal. And so it's very likely that one or more of the victims were screaming, fighting back, as has been reported in the open source information, that at least a couple had defensive wounds. And the question then becomes, why didn't those victims' cries, why weren't they heard on the first floor? A interview that I read of a previous roommate who was on the first floor said it was very difficult in this house because of acoustics to listen or hear anybody on the second or third floor unless they were playing the television very loud. It's also interesting that there was a dog in the home, and the dog didn't alert on this individual, and the dog was not harmed either.
Hey, Brian, is there a suggestion of how the guy got in the house?
No, we just know that there was no forced entry, but it's interesting what the doctor there just said about the dog. I just heard from Kaylee's parents. They obviously know the dog very well. They said the dog is not a barker, which a lot of people have wondered about. The dog would never bark. The dog was not aggressive, and they say likely the dog just went and hid. So these questions about why the dog didn't attack or make a lot of noise, they say the dog would have never done that. That wasn't the dog's personality.
Also, Bringle, for me, Andrew, me referring to this as a guy, does that have to be a foregone conclusion, or could it have been a female?
No, I think you mentioned the other night, why I said guy. I think the impulse is that because of the brutality and force that was used in this crime, and the type of crime that was committed with the brutality that it had, that it was a male. And in fact, most of these types of attacks are male driven. So the assumption is it's male. But you did an excellent job earlier talking about the parallel theories, one being a potential serial killer and one being a targeted attack from someone that the victims possibly knew. And I think that going back to the earlier statements of the police, my belief.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to News Nation now.
So I just wanted to get like that little segment from, Brian Enton saying that, Murphy was not a barker. So it seemed like the dog was actually fairly quiet.
Yeah, that kind of fits the profile of a golden doodle too. Just a happy-go-lucky, not that barker of a dog. And he very well could have been created in Kaylee's room, and could have heard something. I mean, the dog barking is mentioned, or the dog is mentioned twice by Dylan, which leads me to believe that it could have very well been a stranger that alerted the dog.
Right.
And also with Kaylee saying there's someone here.
Right.
And then at 4:12 a.m., it's confirmed that Xana was using TikTok on her phone.
Mm-hmm.
I know I saw the screenshots of Xana commenting on a TikTok at that time. That's all over the internet. That's not something that, I mean, of course it could be deep faked, but why would somebody have put that and it be confirmed here? They obviously have her phone. And then so this was after 4:12. So I have approximately 4:12. It could be anytime between 4:12 and 4:17 is when Dylan opened the door a second time after what she thought was crying coming from Xana's room, and then a male voice saying something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." So we still don't know. I mean, we could argue back and forth. Is it Ethan that said, "Oh, it's okay, Xana, I'm going to help you"? Or was it Brian Koberger, or the suspect saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you"? Or did he say, "Oh, it's okay, I'm going to kill you"? I mean, either that, we know we have a male voice saying something that Dylan heard. And then at 4:17 a.m., the neighbor at 1112 King Road, immediately northwest of 1122. So if you're facing 1122 and you're looking at the cars, it's the residence directly to the right. And I believe from looking at Google Maps, there are two residences directly to the right. There's one that's a little bit further back off the road, and it's kind of like a triangular area. So looking at how the police always call it Queen Road and all, it makes sense looking at it. And so Oh, thank you, DM.
I'm just gonna
I'm
give you some
sorry.
props there.
I feel bad having DM in here and your DM, but we love you, DM.
Yeah.
So it's the residence directly to the right. Xana's room was middle floor on the
Mhm.
right. It was less than 50 feet from this camera. So I just think my next door neighbor, we live in a residential area here where houses aren't too close to each other, but um, my camera would pick up. Now their camera was facing 1122.
Right.
It wasn't facing the street because I believe they entered their house from the side. So that would make sense on why that doorbell, I believe it was a Ring doorbell cam, picked that up, the audio. There could have been motion or something. It depends on their sensitivity settings. So we could argue that all night. But that's neither here nor there. It picked up a distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper,
Right.
followed by a loud thud, as well as a dog barking numerous times. So there we have the Gonsalveses plus Murphy's Instagram. The evidence is that Murphy isn't a barker, but they heard a dog barking. Not knowing how many neighbors had a dog, it makes sense that could Dylan have had some of the time off because it was approximately 4 a.m. when she was awakened by the sound of Kaylee playing with the dog, but then at 4:17 a.m. they heard the dog, or did the dog bark twice or make noises twice?
Right.
The voices could be, um, "There's someone here. It's okay, I'm going to help you." It
Mhm.
could be anything. A whimper could be likened to Xana's supposed crying.
Mhm.
The loud thud, I would say I would think it was Ethan's body hitting the ground
Mhm.
because he was he was about 6'4", probably close to 200 pounds. He was an athlete. He was, very athletic. Probably,
He's a
I mean,
tall kid.
yeah, he was a tall kid, broad.
Yep.
So I mean,
They called him a gentle giant. That's what his parents
exactly.
said.
You're gonna
Gentle
hear him
giant.
fall.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so that had to I'm thinking that had to the loud thud would be Ethan falling.
Right.
And then at approximately 4:17 a.m., Dylan opened her door a third time after she heard crying, and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the intruder's mouth and
Mhm.
nose walking toward her, presumably from Xana's room.
Mhm.
Because if it was walking toward her, the steps were directly to the left of her room, but she had to open the door and look all the way around the door in that narrow hallway to see anything coming from Xana's room. So that makes me believe it was most likely coming from Xana's room because they didn't say anything about the stairs. So that would make the most sense. And then of course the 5'10" male, not very muscular, but athletically built. I've thought about that. Not very muscular, athletically built. Was he skinny? I mean that's what I liken to it. He was thin and I don't know, a thin not athletically built, or
Mhm.
yeah, athletically built. So maybe like a
Yep.
thin runner. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I think I read somewhere that Brian Koberger liked to run long distances.
Mhm.
That fits the build too. Bushy eyebrows. There we go. He walked past Dylan, continued to walk toward the backsliding glass. She locked herself in her room. She did not state that she recognized the male. So, but she
Yeah, I found it's funny. I saw that today too on the
did not
PCA.
state that.
Yeah, that's
So,
interesting.
did she state anything, or did she? So she must. Perhaps she didn't say anything about
Mhm.
recognizing the male. Perhaps she said she did not recognize him, but by her saying did not state, I believe she did not make a comment if she recognized him
Recognize
or
him or
not,
not, which
because
is interesting.
if she knew him, I mean, if I would have known him and I would have been like, "Oh, that's like my neighbor," and I
Right.
wanted to protect my neighbor, I'd be like I wouldn't say anything, I'd lawyer up. That's what I would do.
Yeah, or let's just say this, she's just in a super emotional state, you're recalling all this information back, you're, in one of those kind of states, and it just, maybe they say, "Okay, okay, calm down, like, why don't you just go sit and don't really get any type of like, can you," maybe they asked her, like, "Do you remember anything? Have you seen this person?" She just clams up and doesn't say anything, you know?
Exactly. So then we don't have anything really until, with the exception of the car, which I didn't get into yet in this, but the Idaho State Police forensic team was already on the scene by 4:00 p.m. I don't have the 911 call in here either,
Right.
but we all know the 911 call was made at 11:58 a.m. when Smith from Moscow was already on the scene by 4. Nunez had body cam video of Murphy in Gonsalves's room. So,
Yep.
and then I believe, is there more?
Yep.
Okay. So, and then at approximately 4:00 p.m., Blaker and Payne showed up. Payne's the one that wrote this affidavit.
Mm-hmm.
We need to remember that he was not one of the first ones on the scene. So the strange wording, I believe, was a lot of him trying to write what Smith and Nunez saw and had on the body cams, which I think I'm trying to find a way to justify their lack of writing skills. But they're police officers.
Yeah.
They're not
It's literally
object-
like note taking. That's it. I mean, you've
exactly.
seen every police body cam video. What do when they're talking to a witness? They pull open a white pad and they're just throwing down things. And then it's their job through their training to kind of recall all that information as well, too, while looking at their notes. Bless
Sorry.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Smith walked Payne around the house. He entered the
Mhm.
bottom floor first, proceeded to the second floor west bedroom. Xana was deceased with injuries consistent of an edged weapon.
Mhm.
So remember that. Also in the
Right.
room was Ethan, who was deceased with wounds later determined to be sharp force injuries. So a sharp force injury is caused by a sharp object that cuts and divides the skin as it penetrates. So think
Mhm.
slicing. While Xana, it just says edged weapon. So, but they later determined Ethan. So could he have been sliced, fallen forward, and that is why they thought he was unconscious from a heavy night of drinking.
Yep.
And Xana had edged weapon. I mean, that could have been the knife stabbing her. I mean, an edged weapon. I mean, if you want to think about it, you could use a credit card or a paper as an edged weapon to do injuries. So that's yeah.
Mhm.
And then Smith led Payne to the third floor, checked on Gonsalves's room, but Murphy was no longer there. Smith and Payne entered Mogan's room. Both Maddie and Kaylee were deceased with visible stab wounds on the only bed in the room. Also noticed was a tan leather knife sheath on Maddie's right. And the last part I have in here, I believe, is the Idaho State Lab located a single source of
Mhm.
male DNA on the button snap of the sheath. So something to be noted is that they were saying that nobody noticed this DNA on the sheath until it got to another state, Arizona or somewhere.
Mhm.
No, the Idaho State Lab found it, and I believe that's when they said, "Listen, we can't link it to anybody, so let's send it to somebody um, that uses bigger databases," and
Mhm.
that's how they found it. I'm trying to think of her name. She is the forensic detective, the genetic detective. Parabon. She runs Parabon. She's solved cold cases using the familial DNA, the
Mhm.
ancestry, that type of thing. So, that is, I mean, if anybody's questioning why Idaho didn't find it, they found it, but they admitted they couldn't identify it because obviously Brian and his father or none of his family had any DNA in Idaho's system.
Do you think they found it through genealogy?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what I always say to people, as much as everybody goes, "I wanna do that ancestry thing." I wouldn't. That's your DNA on file. I mean, not that I'm a criminal or anything, but I don't want anybody access to my DNA.
I think that I think that they found the DNA and
Mhm.
then they compared it to, or they compared it to the DNA they found in the Koberger trash in Pennsylvania and realized that it was just the father-son match
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
the father. I mean, that's also another plausible, or they could have had a hit in the ancestry database. I mean, we don't know that yet.
Right.
Um, but it's being used. It's and I believe it CC.
Oh, you
If
got a
anybody's
little
in the
bit more
chat that
here.
knows it, I can't think of her name. Her first name's Cece, and she runs Parabon. She's amazing, and she is, I believe, located out west. So if she gets involved with this, that would be crazy. And there, I just have a sharp object, thus cuts and divides the skin as it penetrates. A stab wound results from the penetration of a pointed instrument into the depths of the body, causing a wound that is deeper than its length on the skin. So from that, I'm thinking Ethan had a slice that was wider than it was deep, yet Kaylee and Maddie had stab wounds, so they were deeper than they were wide, and Xana just had injuries from an edged weapon. Could the knife have gotten duller?
Not if it's fresh. I mean, those,
True.
they're going to be super, super sharp. They're pretty sharp knives.
I'd love to get my hands on one of them.
Yeah. Well, we just may. We just may. You're all going to have to tune in for that. Let me just acknowledge the super sticker really quick. Really quick. Thank you so much for the 99-cent super sticker, Lisa. Appreciate you.
Great cash, homie.
Thank you so much. I cannot follow what you did. Mine's not as in depth as your amazing sleuthing, but I'll bring up mine and
let's do it.
All right, we'll bring mine up. I took it from the moment when suspect entered the house. That's where kind of mine starts. Incredible research, by the way, and really, and this is my scenario. I think this is my scenario if there's no what we say, I guess, weirdness to DM's whereabouts and location and stuff after the 8-hour delay there. So this is what I have. This is what I came up with. So this is what I would think if there's. So I have suspect enters through kitchen slider, walks into Madison Mogan's room. Attack starts on the 3rd floor. DM hears commotion, which she thinks is Kaylee Gonzalez playing with her dog. That's noted by DM in the PCA. DM hears there's someone here, noted by DM in the PCA, which she thinks is Kaylee. And then here's my thought. If that was Kaylee's voice, I think Maddie took the first hits and Kaylee woke up and yelled, "There's someone here," to alert the roommates downstairs.
Yep.
At that moment, DM looks out her bedroom door for the first time after hearing "there's someone here" and doesn't see anything. Suspect stabs and murders Kaylee Gonzalez and Madison Mogan. The suspect makes their way to the 2nd floor. I think at this point was getting ready to leave through the kitchen slider, because we've always thought that like Xana and Ethan were collateral damage, unfortunately. And
let me stop you 1 second,
sure.
Brian. Number 6, DM looks out bedroom door for the first time. No. Or Kaylee woke up and yelled, "There's someone here," to alert the other roommates.
Yep.
Looking at interviews of Kaylee, she was always one of the ones to stand up for what was right, always fight in the fight. I believe there was an incident where she told Maddie, "Let me write that email," and she really, she didn't take any crap from anybody. So I could see her yelling, "There's someone here.
There's someone here," like to alert, like someone that's not supposed to be there.
Help me get out, something.
Right.
Because that was in her personality from what I've gathered from the numerous interviews and everything. So just wanted to interrupt there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you and I did talk about this. So DM looks, after hearing that, she looks out in the hallway because this alerted her. She doesn't see anybody. So suspect stabs and murders Kaylee Gonzalez and Madison Mogan. Suspect makes their way to the 2nd floor. And this is where I think at that point, if this was the targeted attack, like the Gonzalez family said it was targeted in that interview, and we're going to play it, that he's like, if I have to be the voice and I have to come out and say it, you didn't have to go to the 2nd floor. And what I got from that was, look, your daughter was just brutally murdered. Her best friend was brutally, like, you didn't have to go up there. Like, you didn't have to do this.
He went in on the 2nd floor. He didn't have to go up there, but he did.
He did.
which
Right.
means he had a mission. He
Yes.
had a mission to go up there, and so I believe that's why they said that, because you could tell that Steve Gonsalves wanted to say more, but then he stopped himself,
Mhm.
and he was just like, he didn't have to go up.
And we're
So
gonna play that interview because there's a lot of interesting things in there we're gonna pick apart. So I think at this point, he was getting ready to leave through the kitchen slider to leave, and maybe heard a noise and encountered Ethan Chapin in the hallway. Suspect encounters Ethan, slasher stabs him. Ethan now stumbles back through the hallway towards Xana's bedroom and enters. Suspect follows. Xana starts to cry, noted in the PCA by DM after seeing what happened to Ethan. Ethan comes in, maybe she sees blood, stab wound, whatever, bleeding from the neck. I don't know. We don't know his wounds, but we know that he was slashed. Slashing is going to cause a lot of blood. DM looks out her bedroom door after hearing the crying, noted in the PCA. Ethan, to de-escalate, and this is where I think this is the okay, I'm here to help you, and I might have typed that wrong. Ethan de-escalates the situation, like puts his hands up to the suspect and says, hey, it's okay, I'm here to help you. Or it could have been the suspect to get Xana to stop crying. And this is the theory that I kind of threw out. You have Ethan now maybe stumbling back into the bedroom, bleeding, slashed, whatever. You have someone that's come in, clad in black, maybe looks like law enforcement, and this dude so wanted, and you said this too, this dude so wanted to be military, so wanted to be law enforcement, or if you wanted to continue with making it look like that military theme, and we've talked about this, all you have the Air Force Base there, ROTC, and there's a Marine recruiting station in and around that Pullman as well. So if you're carrying that theme, he comes in like a first responder. Hey, it's okay. I'm here to help you. Or, like you said, I'm here to kill you. Suspect encounters Xana in her bedroom, stabs and murders Xana. M continues to hear her crying. So here's very interesting too. If you read the PCA, she says that she continues to hear crying as she opens the door for the third time as the suspect is walking towards her. So technically, in my opinion, Xana was still alive, but mortally wounded.
And I remember one of the leaks, it said how Xana fought back and her fingers were nearly severed. So that got me thinking, edged weapon. If you grab a hold of a knife, or if you grab a hold of anything sharp, those injuries on her fingers would have been caused by an edged weapon, which wouldn't have been a stab, it wouldn't have been a slash, but it would have been injuries caused by an edged weapon.
Then you have suspect turns toward hallway, walks past DM. DM sees suspect lead through kitchen slider. So mine's a little bit more basic, but that's kind of where I'm at with this. And then it's just all that weird 8-hour delay. And that can be another tangent of mystery that you and I have thrown around. So I think if that was straight to the facts of what we see in the PCA, that's how I kind of see how it would outline, in my opinion.
Absolutely agreed. Absolutely agreed.
And I agree a lot. I think both of our timelines really match up really well. And we did this as a separate exercise. I said, you do yours, I'll do mine. We'll compare online, live, and we'll see, how everything goes. And it's pretty, we almost pretty much match up. So let me pull this interview up with the Gonsalves family. And there's some things in here. And I actually want to ask you about something and what you think Steve said in this interview. Let's play this really quick.
Edition of Cross Country in Moscow, Idaho. Tonight we are in front of the Moscow Police Department, and you may be asking why. It's been about 3 weeks since the horrific stabbing death of 4 college students at the University of Idaho. 3 weeks since we lost Xana, Maddie, Kaylee, and Ethan. 3 weeks, and still the police have no suspect or person of interest. The community has been left in limbo, left with more confusion and more questions. We are on the hunt for answers for them. Moscow deserves answers. The students of the university deserve answers. These 4 young innocent victims deserve answers, and so do their families. So let's start there. Joining me now on set, the parents of Kaylee Gonzalez, Christy and Steve Gonzalez.
This interview is so telling. There's a lot of information if we really deep dive into this. I'm going to really try to pay attention, and I'll just kind of pull things up and throw it at you.
Yes. Thank y'all so much for being with me. You guys have been so transparent and strong for the public. Christy, you called the person that did this the boogeyman.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
It's literally like what nightmares are made of. Like when you're a little kid and you think of the boogeyman, that's just how I feel. Like that's just the horrific details of everything. Them just having a good time, going home and going to bed, and that's happening to them.
Your best friend crawling into bed.
Just crawling in bed.
Every
and
girl
the
in
boogeyman
America
comes.
knows what that's
The
like.
boogeyman doesn't, meet you at McDonald's. I mean, the boogeyman comes and snatches you out of your bedroom.
We've been talking. I've been talking to folks in the community. You said something that stuck with me. You said, until this person is caught, you can't sleep in your bed.
So right there, until this person is caught, do you think that Steve knew that it was a single person already? They're saying that the law enforcement hasn't updated them at this point.
Yeah. I think they knew that it was one person that went mad, crazy, and did them all.
All right.
No, I can't just lay in my bed and do nothing. That's not the way I raised my family. That's not the way I raised my girls and my son. You don't be a victim. You stand up for yourself and you do everything in your power to make sure people hear you. And they're gonna hear Kaylee. They're gonna hear Maddie. They're gonna hear these.
The other two as well.
Yes.
All of them.
I'm careful saying anything about them because I need to be careful because I can't speak on somebody else's child. But these 2 girls, I'm not trying to be a glory hound, but these 2 girls, I'm going to do what I can do. And we're not being victims. We're going to fight. We're going to figure out how to make sure that we hold everybody, accountable, and we keep eyes and attention on this and get this thing resolved.
Steve, you have made it very clear to our audience that you are supportive of law enforcement. You support the investigation. But recently, I've been watching and talking with you, and you're getting frustrated. What does that frustration come from, sir?
They put certain people between you and the officers that are making things happen. And those people are like lawyers and they don't want to say anything. And they don't have the guts to come up and be alpha and be like leaders and say, hey, we might say something that's wrong. We're going to take that hit. So the officers, they look me straight in their eyes. The lead detective looked me in his eyes. I have no doubt he's working as hard as he can. But somebody isn't communicating. There's nothing being released. It seems like they're trying to suppress the story. We want to put rewards out there. Like, don't do that. Yeah, I get it. Your town doesn't want to have reward posters posted all over when you come and you do your rush. You're not going to get a lot of students if they see those things. But this community is not going to heal until this guy's pulled off the streets. It ain't going to happen. Think it through. It's not going to happen. He has to be off the streets. We all are working for the same thing.
Right there.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Until this guy, at that moment, I believe, because he stated that he broke into their phones.
Mm-hmm.
He had an idea, and he was probably so frustrated with law enforcement right at this exact moment because he was like, here's your guy. What are you doing? Why aren't you moving forward? And, law enforcement, it's a complicated thing. You can't just say, going back to OJ. I mean, like, I'll say it. He did it, but they had no proof. Like, the criminal case got thrown out because they just didn't have enough evidence to convict him criminally, which is why they went after him in a civil suit. But I mean,
he still hasn't paid one dime of that money. It's crazy.
He's got to get all of his memorabilia back to sell it. I mean, he's
right.
got to rob people to. I digress. So, Love the OJ case. And so, he said right here, like him.
I'm gonna back it up. Let's back it up.
Yeah.
And then what I want to do is there's another interesting piece of this interview that I kind of want you to listen and tell me what you think what he means. I'm not going to spoil it, but we'll get there. Hang on.
Okay.
But this community is not going to heal until this guy's pulled off the streets. It ain't going to happen. Think it through. It's not going to happen. He has to be off the streets. We all are working for the same thing.
When was the last time y'all heard from the police?
Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday, we looked at.
This is the part here. Now he's going to say male. Does he mean like male, like a man, or male, like, you know, mail that we get, like letters?
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's go back.
We all are working for the same thing.
When was the last time y'all heard from the police?
Thursday.
Thursday, we looked at our phone records. We want to be accurate. We don't want to sell anyone out.
About 3 o'clock on Thursday.
And did y'all get an update from the police about the investigation?
There was nothing. We have no updates for you.
There was no update. They needed me to sign a waiver form so that they could investigate something.
Some mail.
That was mail related.
Is that a man or mail, like, you know, like letters?
I think it's letters. I think it's postal system.
Interesting.
Let's do it one more time.
Yep. All right, I'm going to go back. Let's go back to when he says he again, and then we'll take it from there.
But this community is not going to heal until this guy's pulled off the streets. It ain't going to happen. Think it through. It's not going to happen. He has to be off the streets. We all are working for the same thing.
When was the last time y'all heard from the police?
Thursday.
Thursday, we looked at our phone records. We want to be accurate. We don't want to sell anyone out.
About 3 o'clock on Thursday.
And did y'all get an update from the police about the investigation?
There was nothing. We have no updates for you.
There was no update. They needed me to sign a waiver form so that they could investigate something.
Some mail.
That was mail related.
Okay. Okay, I got it. Some mail.
We're working with
like postal mail. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess they had to, being that they were her surviving next of kin, had to release, because it's a federal thing, her mail, meaning her
to be investigated.
Physical U.S. Postal Service mail.
Postal Service mail.
Or remember the whole thing about the UPS trucks?
Yes. Deliveries.
I mean, UPS and USPS work hand in hand. I know that when they deliver packages and everything. So it could also have something to do with the UPS, the cameras, the delivering of packages as well. What's to say Kaylee wasn't receiving packages from...
Holy shit. What if he was sending flowers and shit like that?
Or like stuff.
Yeah.
To her.
I never thought of that. Yeah, maybe like flowers or gift boxes or,
like,
you know,
why,
baskets.
Because why is the mail, MAIL, why is the mail so important to this case when it looks like mostly everything was electronic? Did he send her flowers?
Amazon gifts, someone said.
Exactly.
Amazon gift list.
Does she have one? Oh.
Whoa. See, this is why Laura and I have, this is what we do. You're getting our text conversations when we're off air.
Yes, because if I try to talk to anybody in my own personal life about this, they don't want to hear it. Like, they're so done. They're like, they got their guy. It's over. And I'm like, it is so not over.
It's funny. And real quick, I just want to tell the story. It's funny. Tsunami said OnlyFans. That's not a bad idea either, thinking that. I was actually at a birthday party tonight and, you know, kind of telling some of my friends, kind of updating them, oh, how's the channel going? And I told them, like, it's really picking up and the shows are getting great. And a lot of people are watching the lives. And I have this community I've started. And they're like, holy shit, I can only remember when you had like 500 subscribers. And I'm like, yeah, we're building this community. It's just, it's been a really good time. And I would not even believe that we would be in this position. And I can only imagine what it's going to be like. And they're like, oh, we're so happy for you. We're pulling for you. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, that Idaho. Oh yeah, that case is crazy. And yeah, it's really, really interesting. So do you want me, let me go back again. Let's go back. Let's listen.
Okay.
Updates for you.
There was no update. They needed me to sign a waiver form so that they could investigate something.
Some mail.
That was mail related. So we're working with them. We're not selling them out. We love our law support.
The FBI, everybody that's here. We just have no information as family, and it gets tough day after day after day. I mean, every day you just wake up and think today's the day. we're going to hear something, and you see these, oh, there's a break in the case, and it'll just be something stupid.
The sixth
you know?
person on the lease that was never there. Stop playing games. This is serious. These are people's lives, and this is the future of this community. There's going to be 10,000, 15,000 kids that come into this community next year, or they don't. So be serious.
I had the opportunity to speak to some of my sources, and I've been told that there were differences in the way.
This is interesting too. Watch Steve's body language during this. He gets very upset and very emotional. Check this out.
That the victims were killed. Some were more severe than the other.
There.
Yep.
And this week we heard
Hear him. He barely catches his breath. Watch. We'll go back.
The victims were killed. Some were more severe than the other. And this week we heard
barely
the
can catch his breath.
target attack, walk back, and then reverse her back
He's
to
almost
being
crying.
a target attack. What can you tell us about the targeted attack?
He's almost crying here.
They have told us that it was targeted, but they told us they can't tell who. We asked specifically, and they said, we'll try to get that information to you. And they got back to us a day or so later, and they said, we're sorry, we can't give you that information. But then a day later, we saw in the news that it was not targeted, or they think the whole house was targeted. But
I'll cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Their means of death don't match.
Maddie's
They don't.
and Kaylee's
They know.
cause of death, it does not match based on the autopsy report.
They don't match.
Would indicate that one of them.
He doesn't have to
may
go
have
up
been
the
a target.
steps. Let's stop playing games, guys. I need somebody to step up and be an alpha. Be somebody to be a leader. Don't make me do it. I don't want to do it. He doesn't have to go up the steps. Their points of damage don't match. I'm just gonna say it.
What do you think?
He knows. He does he go on about how he paid for the
Yeah, let's play that. I'm sorry. I cut this a little early. Let me go back. We'll start it.
I don't want to do it. He doesn't have to go up the steps. Their points of damage don't match. I'm just gonna say it. Wasn't leaked to me. I earned that. I paid for that funeral. I paid for that. It's my right.
This is so hard to
You ain't
watch.
taking that from me.
calm down.
If you don't want to say nothing, that's your bet. But don't say I'm leaking anything. I paid that bill. Sent my daughter to college to get an education. She came back in the box, and I can speak on that.
That's tough. I can't. I have a hard time watching that one.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I think based upon how he reacted so strongly that I think Kaylee was harmed worse than Maddie. Now, I know Maddie was like a child to them, so can't really discount that, but I believe, he spoke more of Kaylee in that interview than Maddie, and he has, I believe, carte blanche to talk about Maddie based upon the family dynamics, because he pretty much said, he's not going to talk about the other two because that's not for him to talk about. So therefore, I'd have to say, yeah, he was talking about Kaylee.
I agree.
Go
ahead.
Okay, I'm trying to pull up the list of the different places that they subpoenaed records from. Was Amazon one of them?
Yes. And that was specifically the K-bar knives. And the delivery was to get this was subpoena for any deliveries to 1122 King Road. That was the UPS. So it's very interesting.
So UPS was the deliveries. Amazon was the K-bar knife.
Yes.
No OnlyFans, I believe.
No.
They're so, I know I even believed thought at the beginning that OnlyFans could have been something. I was also convinced Tinder was. I'm still on the Tinder thing. But yeah, we'll keep going.
Sure.
Also told from sources that are closer to an investigation, because there was a lot of roommates in there, And this was horrific for those roommates that were there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
hang on. Let's go back there. That's interesting.
That bill. Sent my daughter to college to get an education. She came back in the box, and I can speak on that.
I was also told from sources that are closer to an investigation, because there was a lot of roommates in there. And this was horrific for those roommates that were there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
The preservation of this crime
Who
scene.
knows?
Witnesses tell me that it may have well been preserved because the phone was passed around between one of the fraternity members and the girls. One of them unfortunately witnessed the death, the body there. Can you confirm that?
We cannot actually. We know nothing about that whole phone call. We've asked, and it's. I mean, I know that a lot of people want to know, but that's just not our agenda. We just are like, somebody called 911. Somebody was reported unconscious. We don't really know. I mean, we've heard so many different things, and nothing has been clarified or been told to us at all. And I mean, I don't know if I personally have asked anything about that. I don't know if you have asked that, but we know that this is getting 3 weeks in, and it's starting to get. We don't want it to go cold. We're reaching out. I've reached out to friends down in California today that have connections that we're hoping to raise some money to get a reward, to get a private investigator.
Third party.
Why go the private route? Do y'all worry that at the end of this week that this case may be
100%.
cold?
I just want to bring up this point really quick. Carrie H says, thanks for bringing us into your conversation. I really have to thank Laura for this one. I really want to really thank, listen, we're all have our adult lives, and it's, it's late at night, and I really want to thank her for taking this time and extending me the courtesy to come out and, have her online and public doing this. Obviously she's not on camera, but to give me permission to do this. And it's a real honor to have her here and have this perspective, because her and I have some really, really great conversations, back a house. And so Laura, thank you so much for taking the time and doing this.
You're welcome. And I'll just add for a moment, this case happened in November, right around the time Delphi, they arrested Richard Allen. So I was joking with some friends and family, oh, well, what's my next case going to be? This happened. This was terribly unfortunate. Interestingly enough, I had met someone in town. Thank you, Karen. In my local town, who was from Idaho. Well, she was originally from my area, moved to Idaho. She had just moved back, and I said, "Oh my goodness!" Me being so Pennsylvania centric, I said, "Oh, were you near the case?" She was like, "Well, no, I'm closer to Coeur d'Alene, which is where the girls were from." So that kind of, I was like, "Oh." So having a friend that just moved from Idaho, like a month before, just had me just so enamored with the case. And then I went through a rough point in my life. I'm not going to divulge it, that's neither here nor
Yep.
there. So this case was able to keep me focused and something to do, to replace some old friends and everything. And, I mean, I teach law. I mean, yeah, so this became part of my life. So this makes sense for me. I'm invested. I can't leave this case now. And this channel appealed to me. And I do watch other channels, but not as religiously as I participate and watch this one. So yes, it's a pleasure to be on here, and I thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. Thank you for those kind words. And like I've always said, when we've started to, handle this case, is that I want to be very sensitive to this case. It's a very sensitive case. It's a very emotional case. People get very emotional. People start fights about information. And I wanted to make sure that, because when I see Steve as emotional as he is, and how in Ethan's parents, the interviews that they've done, and I could not imagine being in the position that any of these families in. Not only their families, their relatives, their community, their friends, um, uh,
I,
their church communities.
yeah,
It's just I wanted to make sure that we approach this with respect. I don't get into conspiracy theories. I can't get down with the cartels.
Yeah,
I can't get down with it's Moscow police is doing this. It's
no.
Joe Biden. Trump is in on it. That's not the material you're going to get here. So that's what I'm going to, I'm going to just straighten everybody out on watching tonight. That's
Just
not
the
what we
fact.
do here. We stick to the facts, and we can go and dig in between the facts that are being reported. And believe me, do I think media has its problems? Yes, of course. Do I think when they say sources and all that stuff? Sure. But when they're getting a source, in my opinion, it's got to be coming from somewhere. Whether they're stretching it and bending it to get their story, probably in some cases. But we stick to the facts here.
Exactly.
And
I
I
think
have
about
go ahead.
all the lives that, that these 4 have touched. And I'm a high school teacher, and I used to be a college professor. I
Mhm.
moved into high school. People usually go the other way, but I found it to be much more rewarding to teach high school. And I think these could have been my high school
Yeah.
students that got killed. These could have been kids I had in my classroom every single day. Um, like, and got to know and knew, all of the things. And I mean, and poor, I just want to say poor Jack Decor. I mean, of course we all thought maybe, maybe it could have, but it wasn't. The Gonsalves family trusts him, has them in him in
Yeah.
their phone. Think of how he's been affected, not answering his phone. I can't imagine what he's living with too. So yeah, we really have to, those that have totally been proven to be not involved, we really got to think about them, that they're still going through this. This isn't a movie. This is
Mhm.
real life, and it really happened to some people that seemed like some really good people.
They were kids. They didn't
Yeah.
see this coming. Those kids were, I think someone said today, it was a comment, like they were just, and I don't want to compare it and be, sound shitty when I say this. They were just chickens in a hen house, and they had no idea that this was coming. The big bad wolf was coming for them. They didn't know. These kids didn't
Exactly.
deserve this. They didn't deserve this. And these families don't deserve to go through what they're going through. And I only hope that we can get to June 26th and we do have a preliminary hearing. We don't know. Maybe it gets to a point of where if Brian Koberger really did this, he might get to a point of where all the evidence may add up and just say, fuck it, I'm going to take a plea bargain.
Nah,
You think he's going to go through with it?
he's too arrogant. He wants to be front and center.
Hmm.
He wants all the notoriety. He wants to spend every single moment he can spend in court, even if he is guilty and he knows he's done. He wants to take it all the way through, because then he knows, oh, Netflix will do, like, this is his thing. This is he
Hmm.
he went to school for criminal justice. I believe he felt inadequate about something in his life, and when
I'm
you
going to
can't,
get mine. Yeah, I'm
yep,
going to get mine.
he's not gonna give up. And even if
Hmm.
Ann Taylor says, there's nothing I can do, but that's actually her job
Hmm.
to do whatever she can. I don't see a plea deal. If I mean, that's gonna be one of the things that if there's a plea deal, I will be shocked.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you a couple questions really quick. Uh, what what is the one litigating factor in the back of your brain that would completely shock you when we start hearing the preliminary hearing? What would you be like, oh my God? What would be that kind of oh my God fact that would come out? If there's just one, maybe there's a few.
Let me think here. Give me a
Yeah.
second. I I I think the only thing that would shock me at this point is if I just, if maybe he knew one of the 4, one of the
Mm,
6.
mm,
I would be shocked if he did, know one of them. I would be I mean, it wouldn't be shocked if he was turned down
mhm,
by, Kaylee or Maddie. Um, I mean, I think I'd be shocked if they somehow bring somebody else out that would, you know, basically say it's not him, it's me.
Hmm.
But I mean, I think this totality of all of the circumstantial evidence, and whatever else the police have not released, is going to be a lot for us to take in, um, depending on what all they release in this preliminary hearing.
Yeah, and it's like that's the thing too is that I think people make a lot of assumptions just off that PCA, and I'm going to go back over it really quick. 103 pieces of evidence taken from King Road that we haven't even heard about yet. 4,000 photos that have been taken in King Road that we haven't even heard about. Digital scans of inside and outside the residence that we haven't heard yet. We know that the items that were taken from Brian Koberger's apartment that haven't been processed yet. We don't know what is on those items, what they are, what the relationship is to this case. You have the search warrant of his parents' house, all the items that were taken there. We don't know any of the relationships of the items in this case as well. Then you have what I call the rolling crime scene. I think that is going to be one of the biggest litigating factors in this as well, too. But I still don't think that if I don't know if I want to say that. I think that's going to be a big litigating factor in this too. The car hasn't even been processed. We haven't heard about that yet. So there's still a lot of things that people have to keep in their back of their mind when they make their assumptions, whether they think it's guilty or innocence, that there's still a lot more evidence in this case that we haven't heard yet.
Are you still playing the rest of that video?
Sure, we can play it out. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's go back to that. I think there was something that Christy Gonsalves said that struck me. Oh,
Okay.
thank you,
Do
Cindy.
you want me to rewind?
No, right where we were. Cindy the
Okay.
fossil chip.
What happened? Why do I not see you on the screen?
It's fine.
Let's do this. Interesting. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, let's play this. I'm going to just back up just a little bit. Here we go.
I personally have asked anything about that. I don't know if you have asked that, but we know that this is getting
have well been preserved because the phone was passed around between one of the fraternity members and the girls. One of them unfortunately witnessed the death, the body there. Can you confirm that?
We cannot actually. We know nothing about that whole phone call. We've asked, and it's. I mean, I know that a lot of people want to know, but that's just not our agenda. We just are like, somebody called 911. Somebody was reported unconscious. We don't really know. I mean, we've heard so many different things, and nothing has been clarified or been told to us at all. And I mean, I don't know if I personally have asked anything about that. I don't know if you have asked that, but we know that this is getting 3 weeks in, and it's starting to get. We don't want it to go cold. We're reaching out. I reached out to friends down in California today that have connections that we're hoping to raise some money to get a reward, to get a private investigator.
Third party.
Why go the private route? Do y'all worry that at the end of this week that this case may be
100%.
cold?
We're scared.
When you tell me you don't want a photo up there with the reward offering information, that kind of sounds like you're trying to like suppress the story. I mean, why do you not need help? But hey, I could be wrong. And you officers, I apologize if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I want
absolutely.
to, please forgive me. Please forgive me. But if you don't have the information, people do know. If they don't, then the community, this is a community that is IT based. These guys live a digital footprint like we've never. All of us older people, we don't know how much that digital footprint could be helpful. So that's what we asked for. I hope like a DNA, a family lineage, if they could come out here and just start taking, this town is not that big. We could figure out this, and it might not be him. It might be a family member. We have family all going to the school together. You know, there's cousins, there's aunts, there's uncles. We could find this guy with volunteers.
Lineage companies where
Put Idaho on the map.
Christy, Steve, we're going to stay on this case.
Thank you.
We're not going anywhere.
Thank you.
You guys have been candid with us. We'll keep asking questions. Any resource that we have available, our audience is praying for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. It was big for you guys to come back to Moscow tonight. I know it took a lot of courage to do it. And I'm hoping we can get some answers for you. Thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Anything there, Laura, you want to talk about?
Just that they don't want to suppress it. It seems as if Steve knows something and he doesn't understand why they're not moving so fast. If he was at a loss and he would have been like, I have no idea how or why, I don't believe he would have hired a private investigator. Like, I think he was onto something. And he mentioned about, the IT and the importance of, the digital footprint. And that's why the FBI got their, quite a lot of agents from, I believe it was the West Virginia office where they deal with a lot of either that one or the Utah one. One of the two has like a huge cybercrime unit.
Let me I just want to address this really quick. I'm dropping off. You said that you stick to the facts, but you seem to know his personality. I have no idea what that means. But fairly well. Have a good night. I never said I knew anybody's personality, but I guess if you're referring to Brian Koberger, well, we have a pretty good profile of the specific person that's the main suspect in this case. I think it's hard to not have or know his personality. A lot of facts have been given about him. Shit, he typed like thousands of pages on a community board about visual snow and what he was going through and the demons that he saw and the medications he was taking. So I think it's not very hard to get kind of a personality on who he is. Let me address this as well. Christine says, I feel like why having a members only while ignoring all members. So it's not members only tonight. It's open to the public. And the reason that we've kind of not pulled up a lot of chats this evening is I wanted to be respectful for Laura for her time. Because if I stopped to look at every single chat in the chat, it would take a very long time to get through the stream. I've already taken up 2 hours of Laura's time tonight. So I want to just be respectful of her and to the guest. It's not I don't mean it on purpose. It's just to kind of move the show along. And we're going to let Laura go off soon, and I'll take some calls. If anybody wants to take calls, we'll be respectful. I'll give you about 3 minutes time. You can call in, say guilty or innocent, and just give us your case. I'm not going to debate you. That's not what I'm going to do tonight, but we just want to hear what you think. So, Laura, I want to say thank you so much. I'd love to have you back sometime if you get some free time to come back, maybe in a couple weeks or something. We can do this again if you're up for it.
Sure.
Awesome.
Sure. It was great being on, and I enjoy the members and our chats in the Discord and, every other evening being on here.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, and fantastic stream this evening having you here. And like I said, I'd love to have you come back. I think that the chat is really loving that you came on as well. And I think it just gives us an interesting perspective to outsiders from YouTube. Maybe you connected with some other people in the chat this evening on your perspective.
You're welcome,
maybe,
Joseph.
and maybe you gave some things for people to think about. I think we did that this evening. We kind of opened the doors of Pandora's box again, brought some things that were fresh and some new ideas. And maybe, people can go back and maybe this swings them one way or another, what we talked about. Maybe they think now he's guilty if they thought he was innocent, and vice versa.
All right. Well, I'm going to sign off of this, but I will stay here in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate you. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks.
All right.